the Omi Show. I am Omi Bell, and I'm so excited to be here with y'all. It is noon. I want to tell y'all what happened to me. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of the Omi homies out there. Last week, I went to LA, and I got out of the car. Left the airport, and I usually don't take the regular Uber because I don't want to go all the way over. Like at LAX, you have to go to another part of the airport to get to the Uber area. I usually don't do that, so I usually just like spend on a black car or something. But this time it was costing too much. Okay, we in inflation. I was like, no, I'm gonna catch this here bus all the way over to the Uber lot. So that's what I did. So I got to the car, and the Uber driver was like, Omi Bell? And I thought to myself, Uber doesn't have your last name on the app. So now I'm thinking like, how you know my last name? Now I'm looking skeptical, like, ugh. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, Omi Bell? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, and he's looking at me like with bright eye, like Omi Bell. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you have a Sirius XM show. And I was like, yes. I was like, you know me? He's like, yes. I'm like, oh my God. That is so wild. Thank you so much for listening to my show. Like it was really, really dope. It was a dope moment. He showed me my show on the app. So if you're listening right now, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Then we also spent extra time together because it was a Tesla and his car ran out of charge. And we had to look. It was a whole episode of of what entrepreneurs be going through. Okay, and to bring in that conversation, that's what today's show is going to be about. Dirty little secrets behind entrepreneurship. We about to give y'all the real. I'm bringing in my good friend Don Myers. Come on in here, Don. How you doing?
So good to see your face.
Listen, I love you back, and we about to get into it. Okay, Don is the CEO of Richualist, and she has an amazing device. I'll let you tell a little bit about the device, Don. And I've had the great privilege of watching this grow and being just a friend along for the journey. And started out like as a coach, like coach you to pitch, and then
yes, that is how we first connected. Oh my goodness.
I remember when you reached out to me on Instagram, like, hey, I'm about to do this pitch. Can you pitch coach me? And I'm like, yeah, girl, that's fine. It was a great session. I think you won. Did you win that competition?
I did.
Hey!
Yeah, that was our first $10,000 check.
Love that. So here we are, way past $10,000. You over Are you over a million? You over a million now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Add your name to the list of. Okay, you know what? We got to celebrate something. Something. You know what I mean? Like, we were just talking about how it's ghetto out here in these entrepreneurship streets, okay? Like, tell us about your device, and then we're going to jump to this back end of the story. You might have to speak up a little louder because we can't hear you as much.
Can you hear me? How's this? All right, I'll use my diaphragm. I'll use my cheerleader voice. All right, so as you guys heard, Richualist, our featured product is the Mint. The Mint is an infuser, hydrator for highly textured hair to make your wash days faster, easier, more convenient than ever. We use pod technology. Our pods warm up and condition your favorite coat creams and gels, and then you're able to streamline your wash day by detangling while applying warmed, perfectly conditioned product to your hair. It cuts down on wash day styling times, reduces shedding. The value is, it just goes on and on. So that is what we are working on right now. And it has been amazing having you along for the ride. And this ride has been super rocky. It's been crazy these past, 5 years. It's been nuts. Just getting the money in the door to start the thing. I sold my house to fund early production so that we could get the funding, right? Like people, you just said, you're one of 63 Black women to have raised over $1 million. That's cute, right? But what people don't see is that I gave up all of my assets to be able to do that. What people don't see is that right now, as a matter of fact, I'm foregoing pay so that I can pay my staff so that we can keep operations going. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty.
It's not. And then I think that, what's interesting about the journey of building a company is, at what point do you pull away from your sort of like the moment that is like what you're owed. So like I hear you saying like you're foregoing pay to be able to pay your staff. And then if a staff member pops an attitude about something simple, it's hard not to be like, I'm not even getting paid. It's hard.
Yeah. And I was just there earlier this year. We ended up parting ways with a dear friend and colleague. And it was really tough. But you know what? Omi? It reminded me of what we went through all those years ago. All right, we talking about the dirty little secrets.
Oh Lord. She about to give y'all, okay, so listen, this is the real behind. Yeah, okay.
Because we
You got to speak up for this one. You go ahead and tell it. I'm with it.
So when you see Omi and myself out in public now, it's kisses and hugs and love, and it's always been love. But me and Omi, man, we went through it. So I saw Omi at Google for Startups event, and I was like, oh my God, this woman's amazing. And I wanted to, contribute to her mission. And so I was working with her, and then we were trying to formalize a work agreement, and it just got messy. Honestly, like I don't even remember what the details were, but it got messy. And Omi and I, we went through it. But what I realized even, shortly thereafter, was that she was 3 steps ahead. And there were things that Omi could see that I couldn't see, right? And that's the exact same situation that I found myself in a few months ago, right? I was working with somebody who's super talented, super amazing, but there were things that she couldn't appreciate just because she hadn't gotten there yet, right? And so it's just so interesting how these things go full circle. And I told her exactly that. I had you in mind when I told her that. I told her, you're going to do something great. You're going to build something. And
just not here.
Right, not here. and when you build it, you're going to get exactly where I'm coming from. I'm not even going to tell you things because you're going to get it. And she's going to get it.
I mean, this is the thing. The reason why it's so interesting that you and I are coming together to have this conversation, because I have been told that I'm a hard boss, and I can be, and I believe that. But it's like I believe in you so much. And I don't think that people understand that. And don't get me wrong, I've had to develop as a leader over time to articulate that better and be better at like how I sometimes just gotta let people go and cut it because they're not gonna get it. Similar to what you're saying. Or I'm trying to tell you what I'm thinking and you're not getting it. And I'm like, look, this is how we need to do it. It's like, I don't think we need to do it that way. But then that turns into all these other things, right? I don't think we need to do it that way. And I don't like how you're talking to me about it. I don't think we need to do it that way. And I feel like you're yelling at me. I don't think we need to do it that way. And I feel like you're not giving me room to grow and space to be me. I don't think we should do it that way. And I think that like what I had to do over time is pull away from some of the emotions around some of the stuff. I'm human. I still have passions. And be like, okay, we're going to have this challenge. And then we'll get over it. What I feel like the best employee relationships can be, I'm not saying that you should go get into arguments with your boss, but they can be on the other side of miscommunication, on the other side of a misalignment of passion, on the other side of just the sort of difficulty. I remember you used to say like, it was such a violent process. And I used to be like, dang, a violent process.
That's not the word I used. I used to say it was a volatile.
Volatile
relationship. And it was. But here's the thing: when you have people who are passionate about the things, look, it's going to be explosive. But one of the things that I'm realizing just recently, part of this, and this is going to be a hard thing to say out loud, but we gotta say it. Part of this is a lot of us have internalized a lot of the things that we rail against in the space, right? We talk about empowering Black women and believing Black women and believing in Black women. But when it comes to a Black woman actually being the boss and actually telling you what to do, that's hard for people to flip that switch. Most people ain't seen that. Most people haven't seen Black women outside of a corporate environment or even in a corporate environment who can be the boss and who can call those audibles and who expect for you to do the thing when you ask for it to be done. And just like we're asking white men, non people of color of all types to respect us, we as a community also have to learn how to respect each other. We as Black women also have to learn that when that Black woman, when that boss tells you to do the thing, just do the thing. She asked you to do the thing, do the thing. Like sometimes it's not a time for opinions and the things. Sometimes it's just time to do what that woman asked you to do. She knows what she's talking about. She knows what her organization needs. Give her what she needs. That's your job.
But you know what? I thank you for saying that. And I think now you know as the boss too, right?
Sure.
So I think that like one of the things that there's a couple of things that's challenging. One, I also had a Black woman boss before, and do I feel like she felt more harsh than other bosses? I think maybe she did because she was driving harder. So this idea of like, we got to go faster, harder, stronger, it's affecting all of us, not just you.
Yeah.
It's affecting me too as the boss, on top of the fact that I got your livelihood on my back.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? So like,
That's right.
so I think that like when you're asked to do a thing and then there's all this friction about doing it, we just don't give other people as much, to be honest, like, and we just don't give white bosses as much friction. Now, here's another thing to that. I want you to be in a space and be yourself, and that is what I've welcomed. And so it took me a long time to understand how to manage a whole person. So it's one thing to say like, oh my gosh, I never got to be my full self in corporate environments or in certain work environments. And I want you to have that opportunity. Once I welcomed that, I wasn't ready for the friction of what it meant for you to come in and be yourself. To be honest, I just wasn't ready. I was like, oh yeah, be yourself. And I realized that meant you was gonna come in with a whole lot of stuff. And I had to reshape a little bit about who I am as a leader in order to manage your whole self. I mean, I'm saying it's yours and employees' whole self is different. When you bring your sort of representative to work, that's actually easier to manage.
Yeah, that's right. And let's take it a step further, right? When you, as a Black woman who looks like me, who walks like me, who talks like me, who I identify with, when that person says, bring your whole self to work, you forget that this is your boss first and it's work first. And then it's bring your whole self, right? You still got to get the things done. And I think this is going to be hard for some people to digest, but you have to understand that that boss is doing you a little bit of a favor by even creating that space, right? Like you have to perform for them first. You don't agree with that, but
no, I agree. I'm saying people gonna hate that.
They're gonna hate it, but it's hard to understand that when you have a woman who says, you know what, I'm going to make this an environment where you can be a single mom and where you can raise your kids and where you can take time off and where you can work out and where you can get your rest. You have to understand that that's a favor, like to you, right? So you got to do your things, you got to perform, you got to show up, and then you can do yourself and have the flexibility, but you got to get the things done first.
Another thing that I've learned is that I took a lot of chances on people, and just in general, I'm just going to say this for any business owner out there. When you bring people into levels of your company that they actually have never ever operated in, or they're not there in thought, they don't have a strategic mindset, and you're putting them into a strategic place, when you start to see things that they're not doing right and you start to give feedback on it, or things they're not doing well, and you start to get feedback on it, they will feel like you're crazy because they have never worked at that level.
Right.
So I brought people into spaces and they're like, I'm doing all I can. I'm like, yeah, that's because you don't have the skill. Some of these levels of your company are just going to take time in for people to actually know how to do it. It's not all hard skill. A lot of this is soft skill.
Yeah.
And I think that it took me so long to realize that. So what I started seeing is a pattern of like, oh my God, I brought this person into the wrong role. And I gave them expectations that they were not ready for. And I tried to help them see things in ways that they could never see and had never had to see. I try to help them see them. And I'm not even saying that like I'm some savior of some sort. I'm just saying that like, oh, you think I'm crazy because you've never seen this. Yes. If you had seen this scenario multiple times, you would not think I was crazy for actually asking you why you handled it this way.
Right. And, it's also there's seeing it and then there's actually having been it, right? There are people who see you, Omi, and I can say this from personal experience, right? Like I see you and you look like me, you talk like me, you walk like me, right? So I identify with you in a certain way. But and I've seen what you've done and I've seen how you operate in your space. It's a completely different thing to do that thing, right? And so there are people who are identifying with you and they think that because they identify with you, that when they do their administrative tasks, that they are operating at the same level that you are. They have no concept of what it is to do that thing, to push that new concept and birth it into the world. They have no idea what it is to make something out of nothing and create an entire business, an entire community, an entire movement around it. They've never done that thing. And so they think, well, I sent the email that she told me to send. And I put on the event that she told me to put on. I mean, that's what she told me to do. But, there's a whole invisible levels that people have to ascend to. And just like, those people are learning to ascend, we are also as leaders learning to figure out how to put all of these big amorphous concepts into words and into ideas that folks can digest. It's hard. It's hard on both sides.
That's a whole word. Like that is a whole word, girl. So one, I love this because recently I had a conversation where somebody, brought out some things that they didn't feel like was so favorable about the early days of working with me, and in a sort of anonymous way. And I thought, and I went on like a, oh my God, I went on like a, oh my God, like I don't want people to think I was being mean to them or treating them bad, or like, what could I do? Like, oh my God, is it out there in the world and now I'm some bad, terrible boss? And you may have had an interaction with me that wasn't favorable, and that's okay, right? But I think that I had to stop and step back and be like, one, I want to work with people who are willing to have conversations.
Yeah.
There's many people where we may have had some challenges and we just may not be a good working fit, and I'm cool with that. My intent is never to make anybody feel bad or hurt anybody or any of that. And so I was like, oh my God. And then I thought to myself, like, I don't think any boss or companies really get any credit for being human. I think that's first. Second of all, I don't think that you have a voice as an employer. Mm-hmm. Employers do not have a voice. I see so many, and I mean, I get it. We're the bigger, entity. So like, we're not supposed to say things. We can't. I understand how the power of an entity saying anything about an employee could shape up to create a even more negative impact on that employee's life, versus like, we're supposed to be able to take the hits. It's almost like customer service, right? Like when you're smaller and people complain about your product or put negative reviews, it has such a huge impact. When you're bigger, somebody as big as a retail store, they're feeling multiple, complaints a day. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to sweat all the times that somebody puts a negative review, because people are going to still shop with them. So I think like that pressure too, of like, if two people are out there saying you're a terrible boss, you feel like you run the risk of creating this whole narrative that you're now not the best boss. And so that worry is a little deeper. Then you have to step back and say, I got people that have been working with me for 5 years now. But BGV has only been around 7 years. So I got people been working with me since 2017. So I had to be like, okay, was the not right personality? I had to let you go. There's moments in our lives that are different. Like somebody's life ain't aligned. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is such a great conversation. Okay, well, y'all keep it live right here, because we give you all the dirty little secrets behind entrepreneurship. That was a real moment that we just talked to y'all about. I don't think we've ever publicly talked about it.
Yes, we have.
Have we?
Yes, we have. Well, maybe not on a forum like this one, but I feel like it because it's I don't know about you, but it was such a great learning lesson for me. We've talked about it at your birthday party. We talked about it.
I mean, that's still private though.
That's true. You're right. We haven't talked
I'm saying like on a public, and I think, honestly, at some point we should figure out different ways to talk about it, because I feel like this is not a conversation that people talk about often, especially being able to get upset, work through it, and now be on the other side and be like, we cool.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I'm like that with. We just don't publicly talk about it.
And
So
let me say,
here
can
we
I
go.
pause? Can I pause? Can I pause? Can I pause? Because
Okay, wait, because we got to go to a break. Okay, we got to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. Y'all keep it locked right because we got so much more to share about the back end of being an entrepreneur. Oh, that should be a podcast, back end. Anyway, yeah, that would be dope. What's up, y'all? We're back. You listen to the Omi Show. We are chopping it up about the dirty little secrets behind entrepreneurship. Today, I have with me Don Meyer, CEO and founder of Richualist. What's up, Don?
Hi.
Okay, before break, you were about to say something. I stopped you. So come on in with that.
Okay, so I think it's really important for people to understand that it's not just that Omi and I are in a better place now. Like, you have to understand. I don't know how you feel, Omi, but I feel so grateful and just in love. I think that's maybe a little extreme, but Omi's been there for some really tough times. I mean, there have been this this entrepreneurship thing. It gets to you mentally. It's taken me to a really bad place, and Omi's been that call. There was a situation, I think a year and 3 months ago, where I had to go to the hospital, had emergency surgery. I was going through cancer treatment. And I sent out a message to all of my friends and family, and I said, "Look, I'm about to go into this operating room. I'm not sure what's going to happen." I wake up and Omi is sitting there. You know what I'm saying? So when I say that, when we say that there is real value in figuring out your values and figuring out how to communicate and going through those tough times in your relationship so you can get to the other side, it's not just so we could be friends, right? Like, Omi is, in my mind, this is family, right? It's something beyond just, oh, we're two entrepreneurs in the same place, we're colleagues. So I just want to make that clear, right? The value of going through those tough times and getting to a great place with people who are passionate and people who are mission driven. It's just that ROI is incredible.
You know what? Thank you. And here's the thing. If I got you, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that, Shanice, our producer, she was just saying how, it's like people, the passion behind it can be misconstrued and I think misunderstood as, oh, you just being emotional. Oh, you don't really care. Oh, you wouldn't say this if you didn't. And you just have to find your sort of like your people. And I know that my people mirror me in the sense of being able to stop a moment and actually shift their own perspective of what happened and be like, okay. Like that has been the common thread between me and the people that we work together is that we're both able to be like, okay, wait. Let me say that again. Like, and sometimes in the middle of the, the passionate discussion, we're like, wait. Okay. Tell me exactly what you're trying to say so I can know what you're trying to say. I think like we also were able to do that. And this, let's keep it 100. Not everybody has that level of social emotional intelligence.
That's right.
And I had to grow into some levels of that social emotional intelligence. I wasn't born with it.
Amen.
I didn't get it growing up. Like, like it wasn't, nobody really taught me. I mean, like, this is not even a dig on my parents. Like, they're great folks. But it wasn't a lot of social emotional intelligence about how to navigate. It was more like, don't let nobody do that to you. Do this, do that. What? Or it was more like, get up and get your stuff together.
Right.
Get up. Okay, you crying, cry about it, have your moment. And I know that I do that to people. Like I do that to my children too. Like, okay, you having a moment? Got it. I don't have to be in the moment with you. Have your moment. I love that for you. Come back and let's talk about it when you're ready to talk about it.
Yep.
And being malleable is like super important. I think that like maybe my bark is louder than my bite in some instances in the sense that like, like I'm still gonna care about you. At the end of the day, I still care about you. I posted on LinkedIn one time that I grieve every time I have to let an employee go.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that.
I've seen it. You really go through a process.
Because you know what? At Black Girl Ventures, we're doing more than one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I made a concerted effort to say people who work for us won't make less than $60,000. Like, once we got to the point we had funding, that's what I was dedicated to. Nobody who works for us will make less than $60,000, because I
Right.
realized on my journey, it wasn't until I broke the $60,000 mark that I could even really fare as a single parent
Yes.
in this area. And so I'm passionate about that, right? Like, I want people to, so it's like dual work, right? Like, even like, you know, the woman who she became my COO, she still works for us, but she works in a different capacity. Shonda, she's like my ride or die. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
right hand to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And her becoming a COO before 35, her getting to a C-suite before 35, right? Like, we just aren't seeing those opportunities as Black people.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about that. Like, you got the skill. I see the skill in you. I see what you can do. You might not even be able to see it yet, but I can see it. So because I can see it, here, come on, let's do this thing together. Now, if you get into that role and then you can't, and then you just like, I can't get to where you see me. And so I had to stop doing that. I had to like, I had to use my intuition to say, I see where this person can go, but they still need time to get there, and
Yeah.
give people that side of the compassion to
Yeah.
be like, you're not there yet. Even when they think they are. I remember when you got mad at me because I was like, you're too early. You're like, too early?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember that conversation. Getting on the plane. What you mean? What you mean too early?
That was funny. I mean, it's funny now, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, oh gosh, she
Yeah.
is not going to get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And but it's just, you know, I'm glad that we can come to this place. So I'm interested, because I don't think I ever really asked you about. You told me some of the things, but I'm just interested in your boss journey. We talk about entrepreneurship journeys a lot, but like, let's talk about the boss journey that you've been on. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much. Entrepreneurship really is this kind of microcosm of life and personal development and understanding relationships, and it's all of the lessons you need in life are right here. Don't do this. Like, don't do this. Keep your job. But also, if you do this, you're gonna be so well prepared for anything, any relationship, any personal kind of challenge that can come your way. So this boss journey has been, obviously there have been a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs. And where I am right now, I firmly understand power. I understand what I have done in this space. I understand what I know. And I also have a thorough understanding of what I don't know, right? I would
Mm.
call the stage that I'm in right now clarity. Such clarity about where I am. And that's so important because when you're younger on this journey, you got so many people telling you things that are so wildly inaccurate, right? You got people who are telling you, oh my gosh, you are amazing, and just giving you all the kudos and all the things that you haven't quite earned yet, right? They see something in you, like you said, but you ain't there. And then you got other people telling you that, you ain't nothing, you ain't never gonna be nothing, your whole family ain't nothing, right? So it's just where in that do you actually stand? And it's very difficult to understand, am I getting a bad valuation for my company, or am I just really that early? Am I really a bad boss, or is this person just unable to respect my authority because I'm a Black woman?
Mm.
Very
Mm.
difficult to understand where in that you are. And now I think that clarity of being able to say, you know what, there was this issue at play in that employee or partner disagreement. And also, here are the ways that I could have handled that better, right? Because it's very rarely just one party at play, right? So having that clarity and understanding, where I have areas to improve has been really amazing. And, it's a really beautiful time right now. I'm still young-ish, kind of young-ish, kind of. But I have so much momentum behind me, and I've learned so much, and I know what I can do, what I can build with my own two hands. And that's just such a powerful place to be, right? I still got at least another two endeavors, at least another two companies in me. And I'm not even done with this one, right? And I feel that power. It's a great place to be.
I love that. You talk about fundraising, right?
Yeah.
And and you said that you sold your house. And we had some of this conversation more before, but were you raising money while in debt? And then how does that balance out or work out?
Was I raising money while in debt? The answer is yes, because I still have student loans. And so I always had that in the background. But I sold my house not because, of debt issues, but because I build tech-enabled products, right? And tech-enabled products, I mean, the barrier to entry is crazy. You shouldn't be able to build tech-enabled products competently with less than a few mil in the bank.
Mm.
Um, and so it can be really difficult. And we didn't have any funding at the time, right? And so I had to figure out how to piecemeal it together. And rather than doing what most tech enabled startups do, right, which is raise an incredible amount of money and then build a team and then build their products and then go to market, we had to do things very crazily. I had to basically use my own funds. We started with my savings and building small prototypes with that savings. With those prototypes, I was able to get into accelerators. With those accelerators, I was able to build my profile. Then I was able to get a little bit more money in the bank, and I was able to build more prototypes, and I was able to build partnerships that allowed me to test and refine those prototypes. And then I was able to get venture funding, and then I was able to do real engineering and real industrial design and real manufacturing, and then get to market, right? So it was this whole stair step market that most people don't have to go through, right? Because they're not Black women in the space and people just throw money at them. That is a vast generalization, but the point of the matter is that it doesn't look like this for most people. And so we had to I really believed in our technology. I really believe in accommodating the needs of Black women in the market. And that's not going to happen until we are building our own products. And the fact of the matter is, there are very few resources around how to build products. There is no college course you can take on this. It doesn't exist. There is no there's so few resources out there about how to get this done. And then when we talk about how to get this done as a Black woman, to the extent that there are resources, this is a completely different game. And so what I believe in is building that template so that other Black women, other people from niche communities can build their own products that heal their own pain points for their communities, because we cannot depend on other people to see our pain and recognize our pain and build solutions for us. We have to build those solutions, and this is how we get it done. One person goes through, creates a template, other people come through, refine that template, and then, throughout years and decades, we're able to create an ecosystem where our own medical, education, hair, aesthetic needs are met, and we're able to keep that wealth that results therefrom. I'm so
Mm.
sorry. We're able to keep that wealth that results therefrom as a result.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
That was a
I
lot.
think, when we talk about partnership as a way to scale. I was just reading about Diddy wanting to work with Tyler Perry and Byron Allen, a Black-owned media conglomerate. Like, I think that's so important. Partnership is. I want to talk about partnership for a minute. What are some challenges you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and what are some like positive or wins that you've seen when it comes to partnering?
Honestly, partnership is the way, right? Like everybody's out here, like, let me get some. I need $1 million in venture funding, like 0.00 no nothing of entrepreneurs. Period are able to raise venture funding, and that number is just almost infinitesimal for Black people and Black women in particular. But people, it's just kind of their go-to. When in fact, partnerships can get you where you need to go, right? There is a corporate entity that needs what you're selling, right? There is a corporate entity that is looking for exactly what you got and who they want to partner with you. And they may not, be able to scale you to a $20 million company. They can help you get your first 100K in the door. They can help you get your first 20K in the door. right? And again, it's a stair-step model for us. That first partnership leads you to your second partnership, which eventually leads you to that scale. And so, partnership for me has been the entire game, whether it's partnering with some of our investors, right? So we had a really interesting investment structure with several of our investors where we pinned collaboration agreements, right? Normally, an investor gives you money and they walk away. We said, no, I need this money, and then I need you to advise me on manufacturing, and then I need you to advise me on engineering, and then I need you to put my products on the back of the ships that you have coming back and forth from China so that we don't have to pay those $20,000 in shipping fees. It's a drop in the bucket to them. It's nothing to them, but it's everything to you early stage.
Yeah.
And so, using partnerships strategically, I don't even have anything negative to say about partners. There's always going to be personality conflicts. There's always going to be differing, what's the word I'm looking for, incentives and goals. But that's a whole kind of conversation around social IQ. Partnerships in and of themselves have been nothing but a boon to us.
Oh, social IQ. We can have a whole show on social IQ.
We sure could. We sure could. It's hard.
It is because so, it's so interesting, especially if you bring in this sort of racial component.
Yes.
Because there's so much trauma, so much BS that you really don't know. Are you being racist? Right? It goes back to what you said about like settling where. It's like, is what you're saying the result of white supremacy, which it probably is, or are you actually like a white supremacist? You know what I mean? Like, is what you're saying the result of institutional racism, or are you a race? Like, what does that look like? And being able to put it apart is so hard, especially when you're a Black person raising capital and you going into all these rooms where it goes back to what I was saying. Like, they are sitting on information that you are not aware of. Therefore, the way they may talk, we don't talk about the separation between socioeconomic classes as a cultural difference as much.
Yes.
Right? When you're talking to a person who never has to think about what they're spending, they have a whole different, and they've been that way for years. They have a whole different outlook on life for somebody who's like, how much that costs?
Yep.
And then there's pockets of that. Well, like somebody might be like, well, how much is this investment gonna cost me? But then go buy 15 boats.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I remember I met this wealth manager and she said, there's only two types of people. I don't care how much money you got. They're savers and they're spenders. She's like, I've seen billionaires with cash flow problems.
That's right.
And I've seen people who you would say, quote unquote, have no money, who save up thousands and give it away at, when they leave the world. Like, so it's like this really interesting dynamic around social IQ and how to quickly walk into a room, know who they are, know who's who, know how they've been, and then walk out and be like, okay, I got it.
Yeah. And it's one of those moments where, as Black women, we have to be more present, more conscious, more erudite. That white guy, as well meaning as he might be, he doesn't have to learn me, and he doesn't have to learn the dynamics that I have to learn just to navigate everyday life. And that's one of the things, one of the special skills, one of those kind of like leadership skills as a Black woman that I treasure so much, in any situation, whether it's with an employee, whether it's with a partner, whether it's a retailer, it doesn't matter who it's with, kind of sitting above that situation, right? And knowing that I know, right? And again, it's that clarity. I'm not going to let you confuse me about what this is. I know what this is. I've seen this before. I've seen this pattern, right? So I know what this is and I know how to navigate, but without kind of getting embroiled in it. You may look at me and think of me as less than or less capable because of my skin tone or my color or my background or whatever. But when it comes down to it, I know how to navigate those thoughts, those feelings, those sentiments. I know how to navigate it and I can sit above it. And so I don't let it affect my inner peace. I don't let it affect how I'm going to move, right? It's all a chess piece. You think you got me, but you ain't got me. I'm 3 steps ahead.
Love that. That's a perfect way to end the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Don, for being here with me today. This has been amazing. And thank y'all so much out there for the Omi homies who are watching, participating, all those things. We really appreciate you.